Hello, everybody. It is time for Inferring Main Idea. This is actually part 2. I know it says part 1 at the top here, but I'm just adding sheets on or pages onto this document. And like I said, we are inferring main idea. We're using the inference skill or the comprehension skill of inferring main idea. And main idea is just a one sentence summary, essentially, of what you read. You're bringing together all of these skills right here. All these pieces make up the skill of inferring the main idea and specifically this one here, the most important idea for a nonfiction text. Now we're looking at the type of text. We're looking for details. We're trying to figure out what is the most important idea. And what is the story mostly about? Excuse me. Now, I've pulled out a couple texts that we're going to read, and we're going to do the same thing we did yesterday, but we're going to apply this skill again. So, I pulled out this little excerpt about Ben Franklin. And I want to activate your background knowledge. Stop and think, what do you know about Ben Franklin? What's he famous for? Now, when I think about Ben Franklin, I always stop and I think about, him flying a kite with a key on it and it gets struck by lightning. And, Ben discovered electricity by being struck by lightning, that sort of thing. All right, so here's the reading. Franklin wasn't just a writer and publisher. He was also an inventor and a scientist. He is well known for an experiment where he flew a kite in the middle of a storm. This led to the invention of the lightning rod, as well as a better understanding of the connection between lightning and electricity. Franklin also invented bifocals, something still used by people today. All right. Well, just like yesterday, I have I pulled out some details ahead of time. I stuck them up here and I covered them because I don't want to stop and analyze. So I read this stuff ahead of time, pull out the details ahead of time to help the lesson kind of flow. And the blue thoughts, remember, are what's going on in my brain. That's my connections. Connecting what I know to the details that I've pulled out of the text, the relevant details. So we've read the text. Our question is, what is the main idea? We've got details. We're going to make connections, and we're going to see how they all relate to answer the question. So details I pulled out. This first one, he was an inventor and a scientist. Yeah, I mean, the article made that pretty clear, right? But he was also a writer and a publisher. I did not know that about him before, but so he's a man of many trades, huh? He helped with understanding lightning and electricity. And he's well known for his kite experiment, right? Which helped understand lightning and electricity, led to the invention of the lightning rod. We might have to look it up. I don't know if he directly invented the lightning rod after that, or if him being struck by lightning led to it. He invented bifocals, and that's an invention still used to this day. Heck, even lightning rods are still used to this day. But I have friends who use bifocals. Now, generally, they are older people use bifocals, but I mean, if you guys know Mrs. Norris, she is a 4th grade teacher at Cleveland. She wears bifocals. I think Mr. Myers might too. I don't know. I feel like he does. Anyway, so those are my details. Inventor and scientist, writer, publisher, help with understanding lightning and electricity. Gzzz. That's me being zapped by electricity. He's well known for his experiment. His invention is still used to this day because he invented bifocals. People still wear them. And here are the connections. Remember, the blue squares are what's in my mind, what I'm connecting to my background knowledge. I've activated my background knowledge and getting into my background knowledge backpack. And I know, and a lot of you probably know this, he's famous for, like I said, famous for that key on the kite experiment. And I can see that he helped out modern society. What if if he hadn't done that, if he hadn't been a scientist or an inventor or whatever, he would not, who knows what electricity would be? What if he had not been struck by lightning? Would we be where we are? Would we have power in our homes? I know he's a real person. He's one of those, legendary American people. Like, when you think about who helped shape our world, he is in the conversation. And I can see that this is an informative text. Author wrote it to inform me, because I look at the type of text, and if you remember yesterday, I said, text type, is it a biography, autobiography, cookbook, science book? This could probably be, it's probably from an informative text. Well, I know what it's from, but if I didn't know, I'd say it's probably from an informative text about Ben Franklin. So all these things together, now we need to connect. We need to make these connections. So he's famous for his well-known experiment, and his well-known experiment helped with understanding of lightning and electricity, right? He's an inventor and a scientist, and a writer and a publisher. Try to make that look a little better. He invented bifocals, an invention which is still used to this day. Once again, he helped out modern society with the bifocals. He helped out modern society with his lightning electricity. I can see it's an informative text. He's famous for the key on kite experiment, and I know he is a real person. So what is the main idea? What is the main idea? What is the most important idea? We looked for details. What's the most important idea from this? Well, I would say the most important idea is that he was an inventor and a scientist, don't you think? Because if he wasn't an inventor and a scientist, would he be as well known? If he had never been struck by lightning, would he be as well known? So I wrote this up beforehand. Ben Franklin was an important scientist and inventor. That's the main idea. The story is mostly about him and his inventions, right? And what happened to him, his experiments. All right. Now, we're going to do a little we do. I did that one. You guys at home, follow along. I know you can't participate like you would in a classroom, but we're still going to go over this text. And while you're at home, I kind of want you to just, if you want, shout out some answers, maybe jot some things down. But once again, we're going to look for the main idea. Text here is from a little excerpt on ReadWorks. It is a nonfiction piece. And it says, Michaela remembered her class earlier that day when her teacher talked about origins of Halloween. Mrs. Narula told Michaela and her classmates that the holiday started with an ancient festival called Samhain, 2,000 years ago in Ireland. The word Samhain means summer's end in Gaelic, a language spoken in Ireland and Scotland. Mrs. Narula looked at different documents from the American Folklife Center to find out about Halloween's history. She found that the festival celebrated the end of summer and the beginning of winter, a time to gather crops to prepare for the colder months. What is the main idea? Okay. Well, first type of text, look for details. What type of text would you say this is? It seems like an informative text. Maybe it's narrative nonfiction, a story told, but set in a real life situation. But let's look at what details I put. All right, one detail. Halloween started with an ancient festival. Maybe I should say as an ancient festival. Halloween started as an ancient festival called Samhain. It says it, right? It started in Ireland 2,000 years ago. I can read that and I can go, Wow, that is a long time ago. 2,000 years. And then this detail here. Samhain means summer's end. Well, what does that mean exactly? Samhain is a Gaelic word. Okay? A Gaelic word that means summer's end. Halloween celebrated, it says, the end of winter, or the end of summer and the beginning of winter. The start of winter. And I can tell you that this is narrative nonfiction. That's just me reading it and going, that doesn't seem like it's quite like a story. It doesn't have the same tone as the Ben Franklin excerpt, does it? Or text. But it's still something fairly similar. Now we're looking at my connections I've made in my head here. And it says the teacher in the story looked at different documents. So that means that they did research. So it helps me think, oh, it's true. They're not just making stuff up about Halloween. Gaelic isn't spoken much anymore, I don't think. In my head, as I was reading this, I was making the connection to what I know about Gaelic. And I know it's one of those old languages, and I don't think it's spoken much anymore. That's something to Google, something to check out. And this is another activated background knowledge piece here. Farmers gather crops before it gets cold. I know that, and I know they do it around this time of year. If you were to stop and go look at a farm, they're out there harvesting corn, getting all the crops ready before the frost comes and destroys everything, right? I drive home from Cleveland every day, and I drive by some cornfields, and there's people out there working. They're out there sun up to sundown. And Halloween is old. That is a connection I made as I read it. I thought to myself, I read that Halloween started as an ancient festival. Halloween is old. I see the word ancient. Whew. Side note, there is a band called Samhain, so I have heard that word before. I don't know if you guys have, but there is a band called Samhain. Not the greatest band in the world, but has a few members from other bands that I like. That's neither here nor there. So, Halloween is old. Farmers gather crops before it gets cold. Teacher looked at different documents, and I know Gaelic isn't spoken much. I know it's an older language. So, I'm kind of making these connections. Halloween started as an ancient festival. Oh, those aren't grouped, are they? Started in Ireland years ago. Samhain means summer's end. Halloween celebrated end of summer and start of winter. And I know it's narrative nonfiction. What is the main idea? What is the most important idea? What is this story mostly about? Well, the most important idea and what the story is mostly about, to me, is that Halloween is an older holiday. Halloween has been around for a long time. I was going to underline. So, the holiday started with an ancient festival. So the important thing, the main idea is that, and I wrote this one up ahead too, Halloween has its origins, or it was started about 2,000 years ago. Obviously, it wasn't celebrated the same way we celebrate it today, but it has its origins in an ancient tradition. And that's pretty fascinating. So, we are working on inferring the main idea. Remember, main idea is just a quick one-sentence summary about what a passage is mostly about, what a text is mostly about. And this is applied to if you read a comic book, you're not going to tell me, well, first Batman swung down and beat up some punks, then he talked to Alfred, and then he went out and he solved a murder mystery, and then he ended up fighting the Riddler, and the Joker attacked him, and then he had to fight them both off. No. A main idea is going to go, well, Batman is a smart guy, solve crimes. You're summing it up quickly. The main idea. Batman's a tough guy. I want you to try this when you're doing some independent reading. Maybe tell yourself, write down the main idea of something you're reading. See if you can do it in one sentence. Okay, good luck, guys. Royans out.